We're live, and Happy New Year to everybody, our LinkedIn family here. Today, Ascending Women Live is back, and we are here with Chelle Shapiro. I've probably got that wrong. Sorry. Shapiro. There you go. Sorry. And we're going to be talking about creativity and making opportunities for yourself by thinking outside of the box today. I'm excited for that because conversation could go many ways. Based today, Sean, and we're terrible as well when we get going. We can go all sorts of directions, but I look forward to hearing more about that topic. Before I leave the opening gambit, though, Ascending Women is now open as a society for not just founding members, but for anyone who may like to come and join. There's live events, both virtual and in person. So the next live event will be in March, and that was super exciting in December to host a lunch in London. And I can't wait to do it again, especially after the last couple of years where we've not been able to be in person so much. It was really energizing. So if anyone's looking for that kind of energetic space where women connect and support each other, then this is a place to be. So I do welcome you to come and join me and the ladies there. Chelle, without further ado, because we do like to keep these relatively short so that women, busy women with not a lot of time on their hands, can consume on the go, I won't rattle on. I'm going to hand over to you to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and why you do it. And then we'll talk about the subject as well for today.
Yeah. Well, this is it wasn't even a question yet, but I feel like it's just so loaded. So thank you, Jennifer, for inviting me to be here. And hopefully you guys will have some takeaways from whatever we end up going, whatever rabbit hole we end up going down. I'm a career success coach and personal brand strategist who helps wellness and lifestyle professionals stand out as experts in their field so that they can transition into more fulfilling roles without sacrificing who they are. And that last part is so key to the work that I do, the work that brings me joy and lights me up. And the reason for that is because when I left my previous role, I was so burnt out. I was scared shitless of what was going on in my life. I was scared shitless for the future and what that could look like. And I, for the first time in my life, did not have a plan. And I felt like I had lost so much of myself along the way that I didn't even know where to start or who I was anymore. I think we, as women especially, but across the board, we get so used to expectations that other people put on us and how we're raised and conditioned to be and how we put these pressures on ourselves then to perform and keep showing up in that way until we just can't anymore. We lose sight of who we are. So it's really important to me to do this work and to help other people stand out and reclaim who they are in a way that they don't feel lost anymore and they can really, really dive into that success and feel more fulfilled. So yeah, it's really like life affirming work we're doing here.
I totally resonate with that. It's not always easy doing your own business. There's a lot more that comes with it than just the service part, but the joy that comes from actually making change and supporting other people do that completely outweighs all of the other administrative or marketing or admin aspects that comes with running a business, because it really doesn't feel like it's purposeful, like it really means something for not just us and the women we work with, but for the future as well.
Yeah.
Chelle, you just said about standing out, and I like the phrase, and I think it also comes hand in hand with thinking outside of the box. So in a corporate world, thinking outside the box or being authentic, being creative, being original, as opposed to conforming with the norm or staying inside the parameters of the box that we get given, does mean that you end up standing out. And sometimes people can be afraid to do that. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how it feels to be confident standing out, or how you can transition from not sure whether you want to, or how good it can feel to eventually be more yourself and confident in standing out?
Yeah. So I first want to acknowledge that you don't know what you don't know. And there are so many people out in the world who are okay being who they are right now, be continuing to show up how they do, to serve in the way they do, and the role that they feel that they play. So breaking outside this mold, this box, is not for everybody. But if you are somebody who is uncomfortable where you're at, and know that something needs to change and you're not sure how to do it, then this is where I encourage you to think about what else is out there. Because again, you don't know what you don't know. You may think you've tried it all before. You've done everything. You've exhausted all the resources at your disposal. And I'm telling you, there's probably another way that you haven't even considered. So in a corporate setting, this could mean transitioning to a different department. This could mean asserting some of your boundaries and limiting your interactions with certain people if you're in a toxic environment. This could be showing up even more in places where you really want to be, but you haven't had a chance to be yet. It really is important to get clear on what works for you, what doesn't, and what from that do you want to take with you. Something that I talk a lot about in terms of breaking out of that box and standing out is letting go of the baggage, dropping your anchors. And anchors is twofold, because they can be your values, but they can also be the things that weigh you down. So you need to get really clear on what is going to work and what's going to help you succeed. And if you don't know that, then that's a good place for us to start. But creativity, you might think you don't have any of that. You might not even be aware that you're using any creativity in the job that you do. But if you're a problem solver, if you are good at finding solutions for things and having an open mind, then you're probably using a lot more of your creativity than you give yourself credit for.
And can you, for anyone who's, I think that's a really good topic to explore a little bit, Chelle, around creativity, because as with many other values or assets that we have, we can be quite narrow or limited with our view of what we think it might be based on our experiences, based on what we've learned and what we've been told to date, as opposed to if we put creativity under the test here of what's in the box and what's outside of the box, what could, so could we expand on that? Could we share more about what that looks like for people, how to get more creative, how to tap into that side? And it's not just being an artist and creating some artwork. I know you touched on problem solving there, but I think that's a really good thing to try and bring to life for people a little bit more. Oh, Chelle, you're on mute. Sorry. Chelle, just stop a sec. You're on mute. I can't take you off. There you go.
Of course I am, because
we haven't been doing this
long. What I was saying at that particular moment. So we're going to try it again. Let's think of a real world example here. And since I already touched on the problem solving, if you're in corporate and you're a project manager, and problem solving is something that you may need to do on the fly, you might need to mitigate issues, deal with customer support, and figure things out, even if you're not a project manager. Again, this is just an example. You're on track with what you think your goals are and your metrics to make this project a success and to carry it all out. All of a sudden, a client comes at you and they switch the whole thing up. What are you going to do? If your first reaction is to, and it's a lot of people's first reaction is to panic, like, holy crap, what do I do now? Like, now we have this deadline. We have to completely switch gears. How do we make this happen? You're asking yourself all these questions in your head about, well, how do we make this work? Is it even possible? Well, if you shift out of that panic mode and think about what you already know. What do you already have at your disposal that you know about this client, that you know about the resources that you have, that the help that you, the people that support you in your job, vendors, venues, you name it. What do you have? What do you know that works? And is there a way to still make that happen? So when I'm thinking about problem solving and creativity and thinking outside the box, you still have that framework of what you already know works for you. And some people don't realize that because you just go into this chaos and panic mode of, oh my God, I need to get this done. How the hell am I going to do this? But if you can just take a breath and harness those things, maybe jot them down. What do I know to be true right now? All right, now how can those things come together to make this work? You already have all the answers. It's just about problem solving and putting it together in a way that might not be what you originally set out to do, but the pieces are there. So we can reassemble the puzzle in a different way. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. But there's different layers to this. It's not just a one and done thing.
No, as you were talking, I was kind of drawing and scribbling my notes. It's like almost turning panic or any obstacle or adversity that stresses, a stressful situation, and then turning that into calm, asking questions, sort of probing and using the people around you. And I guess I kind of sum that up as almost resourcefulness as well, because you're repurposing and reutilizing things that you have around you. And I think that's a lovely way to reframe creativity for someone who wouldn't naturally describe themselves as overly creative because they don't do art or drama or things like that. It's that flip side to how creativity is: thinking on the spot, thinking on the fly, using what you have and being resourceful. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Where did you want to go next, Chelle, with the conversation? What are you feeling like?
Well, where don't I want to go? I think if we piggyback on this idea of being in a field where you might not necessarily consider yourself to be creative. Mm-hmm. Creativity exists in STEM fields as well. It's not just the arts. You can be creative in science, engineering, math, and that's still a level of problem solving that, like, you're putting organisms together. You're putting things together at a cellular level. You're making numbers make sense for other people. You're still tapping into that part of your brain that makes the world clearer for other people. And beyond that, it makes the world clearer and what you do for yourself. So it's not, let's break that down even more. I think it's important to know that it's not just about what you're doing for others. It's about how you're showing up for yourself. And what rabbit hole do you want to dive into from there? Because I could take it in a few different directions.
As you were talking, I was thinking there's sort of a couple of things stand out for me, and we could probably explore both within the time frame. Is first of all, I was thinking about how because in the brief that we gave, we talked about creating opportunity, and I think I think you sort of touched on it, just to kind of link back or circle back maybe before we move on to the second part, of how creativity then creates opportunity. So we talked about the resourcefulness. I think that'd be good for us between us summarize that. And then I definitely would like to delve into that, what you just touched on there around yourself. So working on yourself, building on yourself to be able to access the extra levels of creativity and success that you want to achieve. Does that sound good?
Let me unmute myself this time before I start talking. Yes, I would love to dive in on both of those things. As an ascending woman, as an ascending leader, we owe it to ourselves to not limit ourselves. And by that, I mean, we have to, by our own nature, by our own definition of wanting to ascend, want to reach that next level and find new opportunities and resources and things at our disposal. We create these opportunities for ourselves. And we are not limited to the person that we once were, the person that we currently are. It's all about constantly reinventing. So creating opportunities and how, well, I'm using the word to define it. Creativity is part of those opportunities. You're creating them. You're putting yourselves out there in a way that lets doors open for you, attracts more of what you want to see in the world, more of the places where you want to show up. And as you keep reinventing yourself and unpacking these new layers of who you are and what you want, those opportunities are going to grow and they're going to change. You're not always going to be presented with the same things over and over and over again. That would be the definition of insanity and staying stuck and doing the same things over and over and over again, which again, as ascending leaders, as ascending women, we don't want that for ourselves. So it's imperative that we think outside the box and know what we want and get clear on those things that we want more of so that those opportunities can be there. If we're going to dive in on the opportunity itself, everyone's opportunities are different because we're all different and we all show up differently. We all have different things that are innate to us, the way that we do the thing that we do. And our ideal audience and demographics and the people that we serve are all going to relate to us in a different way. What attracts them? What kind of content do they like? What kind of content do we like putting out there? And finding where the things overlap. And that gets into the personal branding aspects of creating opportunities for yourself, because you get really, really clear really fast about what you will and won't do and who you will and won't serve. And the more like attracts like, but things that are outside other people's comfort zone also attract too, because you're like, oh, that's a shiny new thing. And that's what I've been trying to do. And until you see it, you don't know that that's out there.
I think it's also really important. When you talked about like attracts like, but for me, I always find, and again, my own creativity or opportunities arise when I'm not always playing in exactly the same space all the time. And I think there's so much that can be learned from other people in different industries doing different things. They don't have to be a service provider. They could be in corporate. They could be in, charity working and all these different elements. And when people come together from these different locations and share information and knowledge, I think we pick up more, and then we feel like we can repurpose and be inspired to then bring that back into our own field of work and our own work. That's certainly how I've been able to grow and learn more as a person, not staying in one place for too long, not staying around one environment, one thing, because I get bored quite quickly. But then also I think I'm learning, I'm just soaking things up. So that's what I wanted to try and bring to the Ascending Women, is that it isn't just for entrepreneurs, it isn't just for corporate women, it isn't just for societal leaders, or, you know, it's everybody. Slightly discriminatory towards men in that it is for women only, but it's a safe place for women to come together and share that. And I think you do get that fantastic connection and energetic for yourself. I was going to ask you the question, how do you know what opportunity to take when you're opening all these doors, and which ones? But I think you kind of answered that in the sense of when you know what makes you tick, what makes you happy, or put a kind of purpose behind it, then you're able to identify or choose what feels right to you as an individual. I don't know whether you wanted to add anything to that. You know, how do you know what's right? Because sometimes it can feel like you get a lot of options when you open a lot of doors.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I know to be true about myself. And then that should be really telling. I am a very outgoing introvert. I thrive in smaller, intimate groups. I vibe off of other people's energy. When something feels really good for me, I just know. Like, I feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I'm bursting with excitement. You probably can't get me to shut up. Either that, or the other extreme is I get really, really quiet and you can see the wheels spinning in my head. Like, my eyes look all over the place because I just am bursting with thoughts, as opposed to just looking completely void of anything. And I'm a manifesting generator, which means, like, when I really get something, like, I'm go, 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 go. I'm a manifesting generator with a sacral authority. So something that you may hear other people say is to trust your gut. That is especially true for me. When I feel it, when I feel all warm and fuzzy inside, my hell yes, I'm going to feel that in my gut. And when it's not the right thing for me, I might question it. I might second guess myself and hesitate for a second, but I'm still feeling it in my gut. As that's when I get all those knots. That's when I get the anxiety, and that I'll start to, like, get really tense in my shoulders, and my back muscles will, like, it's almost like a cringe. Like, my body rejects it. So even if I fight against it, I'm still feeling it that way in my body. When I feel closed off and I feel like I can't share, and this was me for many, many years until, again, now you can't shut me up, I would feel this, like, knot in my throat. And to the point where I just feel like I was choking. Like, I was closed off. I didn't have a voice. I couldn't speak up. And even if I did, it was going to get buried back down again. Knowing who you are and knowing what opportunities are right for you, if you can tap into the awareness of what's going on in your body, not just your mind, not just your heart, like, not what you know or what you think you know and what you feel, but, like, where do you feel it in your body? And I can't not see it now. Once you are aware of it, it becomes even more and more aware.
So I completely hear you. So I'm a fellow Manny Gen. And you know what, though? It's you know, there's lots of personality tests out there. There's lots of introspective tests you can do, whether it be on your values, your personality type, your human design. And I do recommend people to look at their human design if they're listening to this going, what and who? Just have a look at. I still don't understand all of the report, to be fair, but I think it's really, as you were describing, the physical side of, I think that's the sacral authority thing, isn't it? The gut feeling bit, which is, I think, something I've got as well. it's when you're aware of it, you can listen. So you can actually start to kind of know in yourself, instead of thinking, oh God, I got a bad tummy, or I've got a bad feeling, or I've got these things going on physically, and they may be a physical ailment. Actually knowing or being aware of yourself through these kind of tests, as well as just learning and journaling and all the other development things that you can do for yourself as a person, you can start to use them as tools. You start to use your own self as a tool in your life, instead of ignoring those things and then being guided by external factors. So I've definitely started to listen. One of the things I said this year I had done was listening, just listening more. And some of that was listening to my body, listening to myself. And it's really powerful to start doing that consciously. So as you say, like, being aware of yourself and who you are is a really strong asset to have as an ascending woman, as a corporate leader, as, you know, anyone in their profession looking to excel.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind if I touch on this a little bit more. And you and I have discussed this previously as well, even on Operation Separation. When you were in corporate and doing all the things and wearing all the hats, I think it became, if I remember correctly, really, really clear really fast that you were doing too much. I think you said that you were presenting at a conference and you were on your way home and you were so sick. And you were masking that because, one, you needed to keep going. You were on your way home. And if I just get home, then I can take care of myself. What did that, I mean, we've talked about this before, but for anybody who doesn't know, what were you feeling in those moments? Yes, you were feeling very sick, but like, what were you ignoring? Looking back, like, what signs did you miss that you were suppressing, that you like weren't aware of, that could have been a key to shifting gears that much sooner? And I bring this up not necessarily for uncovering your diagnosis and experience and what happened to you, but in terms of like the things that we ignore about ourselves.
Absolutely.
And suppressed for so long. We've talked about the masking.
And so, yes, I mean, I think as well, like at the moment, I have a corporate contract as well as the business and a baby, and I didn't have any of those things. I'm actually doing more now than I was back then, but I didn't have the capacity. I was doing more than I physically had the capacity to. And I suppose, what's the shift? What's the change? What's different? And I think a lot of it is headspace and about not, I'm not saying I don't care. Like, I do care to do a good job, but I spent a lot of my time going over and above, doing more, worrying about what people thought, people pleasing effectively, saying yes to everything that come across the desk. Whereas now I might actually say, do we even need to do that full stop? Never mind, do I need to do it? And so I definitely think people pleasing was this compulsion to prove myself, and this people pleasing activity was draining, exhausting, and diminished my capacity to perform, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And I then also was just working ridiculous amount of hours. Whereas now I do like more in less hours. It's kind of, it's crazy, really. But because I think clearer and I take each bit at a time instead of trying to do everything all of the time. I think as well, in terms of like, what was I feeling? Almost every day there's like this jitteriness, this like anxiety that I wasn't good enough. Every day I started that. That's how I kind of started the day, never mind ended the day. I took to heart things people said, picking up on negative comments, was feeling like under attack, even when I wasn't necessarily. And that just created, you start with anxiety, it would be perpetual, it would create more, and then it would create this feeling of like resistance. You just every day battling through, and that's not sustainable. Whereas now, even in environments that aren't that nice sometimes, because I am grounded, because my frequency is great, because I say yes and no when I want to. I know it's not as easy as that all the time. You have to do things that you don't necessarily enjoy or want to, but it's doing it in the right frame of mind. And that's the shift for me. It's taken quite a bit of hard work and just turn that on overnight. But you are right in asking the question in this context, because that's come from knowing myself, my weaknesses, my bad habits and behaviors, but also and programming, to then knowing what it could be like and how to just slowly practice saying no or doing things differently, creating more capacity in myself to be able to do more or do less if needs be.
Yeah, there's something so beautiful there about letting go of what no longer served you, right? And you dug in deep to really like figure out and identify what parts of you weren't working, what you were doing too much of, what was draining you, what was putting too much stress and overwhelm, and removing those layers one by one to like, okay, what do I need right now to succeed? Which I was thinking a lot about this morning. Like yesterday, I rewatched one of my favorite movies of all time, which is going to sound weird in the context of this conversation, but I promise it's relevant. It's Spaceballs. It's a movie I grew up with. It's like potty humor a little bit, but like definitely not for a child to watch, although I watched it as a kid. But like it makes you think. And there's one part in this movie where the prince, or the soon to be found out prince, is carrying his Royal Highness's matched luggage. And he's like, take only what you need to survive. And she has all these big cases, and they're carrying them through the desert, and it's weighing them down, literally, physically weighing them down, walking through the dry sands of the desert until they collapse. And he's like, what the, like, he opens it up, and I'm not gonna like quote the entire movie, but he's like, he reaffirms it, take only what you need to survive. And she's like, it's my industrial strength hair dryer and I can't live without it, and it's this big oversized thing. Well, she couldn't live without it because she had never tried. It's what she grew up with. It's what she was always surrounded by. It's the luxuries that she was able to give herself. Whatever that thing is, it doesn't have to be a hairdryer. Whatever it is for you, it's what you know. It's what you're comfortable with. Even in those moments of discomfort, it was weighing them down, and she had a hard time letting go of it. So I say this because in order for them to succeed and get where they wanted to go, they had to let go of that baggage. Literally. They had to let go of that dead weight that was holding them back and feel that lightness without carrying that on their shoulders. So that's been stuck in my head since I rewatched it yesterday, but take only what you need to succeed. What things have worked for you? Do you want to take with you to that next level of yourself so that you can ascend as the leader that you are? And that will help you break outside the box.
That's beautiful as well, because like you say, you've kind of almost gone full circle on some of the things you were saying at the beginning. It's letting go of the things that you don't need, or just take what you need. But sometimes that in itself is being creative. Like, how am I going to live without this huge hairdryer? How am I going to live without these things? And it's, exploring that as yourself. Like, what could you change? What could you do differently, and what could you do without? And it often is a case of stop adding stuff in take some stuff out. And sometimes it's really good to create that space. I've done, as I was cleaning my house today and literally taking all my decorations down, I was like, oh, I feel sad for the Christmas period being over. But as I was doing it, I'm going, look, all this space. It's amazing.
Get my counter back.
Yeah. And my floor space. And yeah, it was lovely. So space is a really good thing. Taking stuff out. And then also you can then almost become more creative because you've got a blank canvas to start working with than perhaps trying so hard to add things in or work through problems in the thick of it, standing back and creating some personal space to think and to react. I think that's really good to be able to do as well. I think we could talk about this and many other topics for so long, Chelle. Maybe we'll come and get you back here to talk about another topic with us if you'll come and do that. But for now, is there anything you want to leave us with? Anything you want to close the conversation on?
As we start this new year, and what a great way for us to start the new year with this conversation, right? It doesn't need to be the new year though to make change for yourself and create something better for yourself, have a better life, have more opportunity, put yourself in the right spaces, whatever that looks like for you. And so I just want to encourage everyone to just do more of the things that light you up. Because it's going to attract, you're going to be that super attractor. Other people are going to see that something lights you up and excites you, and they're going to want to be in that space too. And that can create opportunities as well. Just do more of the things that you love. Do more of the things that light you up.
Hallelujah to that, Chelle. Thank you for sharing that. It's so important. And thank you for your time today. And thank you for those of you who've been here listening and engaging as we go along. If you've got any questions or you want to catch up with either one of us, then just reach out. You can find us on the LinkedIn event. And please, if you are seeing Chelle for the first time, then do connect with her on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you would like, to be honest, Chelle. We've got all your links, so I'll make sure they're all in the event. So thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining. Happy New Year. I hope you will have a fab first week to 2023. The weather's not so great here in the UK, but that's not dulling my week. I'm not going to let it. So yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Chelle. Thanks all.
Thanks for letting me join you today. It's been a pleasure.